And the Oscar goes to...
As I look through the list of Best Picture winners after watching today's film, I realize a lot of the winners that come to mind when people think of the award tend to be the hard-hitting dramas or the films with a message about society, life, death, war, etc. Today's film doesn't really fall under any of those categories. It doesn't have a message, it isn't dark or edgy, but is instead a light, funny, touching, and optimistic romantic comedy made in the middle of the Great Depression by the legendary director Frank Capra. The movie is based on a short story by Samuel Hopkins Adams called Night Bus. It's a road film that follows a young woman, played by Claudette Colbert, who has recently run away from her rich father. She's on her way to New York to meet up with her new husband, whom she married against her father's wishes. Early on in her trip, Colbert's character runs across a reporter, played by Clark Gable, who decides to help her in order to get her exclusive story. Along the way, they run into trouble and fall in love. I know the premise doesn't sound like much. We've seen countless romantic comedies with similar stories, and yeah, often they are run-of-the-mill, predictable, and blend in with all the others that come out every year. Where this film succeeds, where so many others fail, is in its casting and scripting. Lots of rom-coms fall flat on their faces because their leads, i.e. the two people falling in love, have little to no chemistry. Colbert and Gable work so naturally off each other that they not only entertain you, but you can actually believe their characters are falling in love. For example, check out this one scene which epitomizes their natural timing and their ability to work flawlessly off each other.
These men are detectives, Mr. Moore.
I don't care if they're the whole police department. They can't come busting in here shooting questions of my wife.
Now, don't get so excited, Peter. The men just ask you civil questions.
Oh, is that so? Say, how many times have I told you to stop butting in when I'm having an argument?
Well, you don't have to lose your temper.
You don't have to lose your temper. That's what you said the other time, too. Every time I tried to protect you. The other night at the Elks dance, with that big Swede made a pass at you.
He didn't make a pass at me. I told you a million times.
Ah, no, I saw him. Kept pawing you all over the dance floor.
He didn't. You were drunk.
Ah, nuts!
Their more selfish and negative qualities aren't shied away from or glossed over. Gable's character is sometimes harsh and abrupt, and Colbert's is spoiled and has little knowledge of how the world actually works. Yet you still root for them because while Gable might be gruff and Colbert may be spoiled, he still has a big heart under it all, and she's still capable of immense charity and kindness. At one point, while the two are traveling on a bus, they run into a poor boy and his not-so-healthy mother. Gable is clearly concerned for the boy and his parents and takes out the little money he and Colbert have. He looks at it for a bit, clearly hesitant to give it up. Before he can put it back into his pocket, Colbert takes it out of his hand and gives it to the kid. While Gable didn't give the cash away himself, you could still tell he thought it was the right thing to do. It also adds another facet to Colbert's character by further demonstrating her generous qualities. And that's one of the things that I love about this movie. Few of the characters are one-dimensional, leaving Gable's newspaper boss, who's a pretty minor character in the grand scheme of things, and who we constantly see badger and get on Gable's case, is shown near the end to have a softer side when he reads Gable's article about how Gable and Colbert's character are getting married.
If that's the way things go, you think you got a great yarn, and then something comes along and messes up the finish. And there you are.
Yeah. Where am I?
When you sober up, come in and talk to me.
Thanks.
Despite all this sentimentality and romance, the film is also extremely funny. All the characters are tremendously witty, but not to the point that it becomes too far-fetched. The humor all comes naturally out of the situation and is appropriate for the characters. Although the film is enormous fun, I do have 3 problems with it. The first is one I know a lot of people find annoying in a romantic comedy, and that's the misunderstanding. I hate these sequences in films, and while it may or may not have been a cliche back in the mid-30s, it certainly is now. It Happened One Night handles this portion of the film better than others I've seen, but it's still frustrating. My other 2 issues I have probably aren't shared by as many people, and are more personal. A few scenes use everyday acts to help progress the story and the relationship of the 2 leads, like taking off your clothes as you get ready for bed, how to dunk a donut, and how to hitchhike. Okay, maybe that last one isn't so everyday. These scenes are fine on their own, really well acted by Colbert and Gable, but something about them draws a little bit too much attention to themselves, maybe the amount of them in the movie. I was pretty aware the writer was trying to make the dialogue realistic, and because of that, it comes off like he's trying too hard. I can overlook the slight hiccup in the writing as well as the misunderstanding because, like I said, those scenes in that part of the film was still enjoyable to watch on at least some level. What hurt the film the most on my first viewing, however, was the final scene. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by revealing that Colbert and Gable get together at the end. The scene where they are shown to be back with each other is well written and funny, but what I don't like is that you only hear them together in this scene. You could argue that you don't need to see them together and that the audio is enough. You could also point out that while this was one of the last films made before censorship was regularly enforced, the filmmakers still wouldn't have wanted to show the two because they basically say they are consummating their love at that point, and the audience of the time might not have wanted to see that. Those are valid arguments. I feel a bit cheated though because after seeing this couple who work so well together break up and get angry at each other, I want to have at least one scene, one shot of them embracing following this brief separation. It's probably a bit of a nitpick, but it makes the film less fulfilling for me. Did I still enjoy the film? Hell yeah. The film still managed to make me laugh, touch my heart, and keep me thoroughly entertained. Perhaps more importantly, the movie is a shining example of how a film doesn't have to have great themes or chilling scenes or biting social commentary to be a great film or an Oscar winner. It can just be a fun romp with terrific writing and great acting from the cast. It not only holds up amazingly well, but it's also one of my favorite Best Pictures so far, and I hope it becomes one of yours as well.